Good morning and welcome back to the channel Grand Columbia and welcome to another Coffee Time Live. And it's a bit of a disaster, but we're muddling through. There's a reason it was a minute or so late. We'll talk about that. Right now, temperature is about 78 degrees, little on the humid side for here. We're going to have a high of about 82 degrees, a low of maybe 65 degrees, and the Colombian peso exchange rate is there 41.74, maybe 41.76 by now. Okay, and that's all good news. Some bad news. I'm here alone today. I'm here alone because I've been having I might be blowing you out. I might have the volume too loud today. Kindly let me know. Let me see if looks like my levels are pretty high. So, as you know, I kind of revamped the studio. I pulled out a lot of old equipment that I had, and I did a bunch of repairs. I spent about 2 weeks on it. And for the last couple of weeks, we've been struggling, particularly with sound and echoes and delays and all kinds of nightmarish things. And the truth of it is, I actually have to replace a couple things. I've got a phantom power amp that's on the fritz, it's in and out. I've got a microphone that's not working very well. I've got a mixer that it's hit or miss. So it's a lot of this is old stuff. Microphone and the phantom power, that was from 4 or 5 years ago. I had some issues. I fixed it up. It seemed like it was working, but here we are. It's difficult to put something together with a lot of mishmash parts. So I had to break down and order up a couple new items to put in so that things will function properly. In the meantime, I don't want to have anybody in the studio today because it's pretty chaotic. I'm not even sure how long it's going to last, to be honest with you. It's like major heart surgery, and I left all the instruments inside. So, I don't know. So if you are ever going to contribute to this channel, and some of you do, and I'm very grateful for it, and some of you are very generous, but if you ever were going to, this would be the week. It's been an expensive month. Okay, so let's see. We got Ben Lake. Good to be back. Welcome back, my neighbor. Michael, good morning. How are you doing? Juka, greetings from Finland, and thank you for your weekly contribution. I would say the alarm wakes me up, except I'm already awake when you send that through. Owen, volume is okay, still muffled sounding. Interesting. All right. Don't know what to say about that. Volume okay, volume is good. Anybody else hearing it muffled? Maybe it's me, I don't know. But yeah, I'm working with intermittent functioning equipment right now. So I think one of them I might have even caused, trying to put things through it that were defective, but it's, what are you going to do? I got the chat up on the screen, and if you notice, I've got Rumble chat up there, and I've got YouTube chat up there. Nobody on X yet, nobody on Facebook, but all that seems to be working. So some of it I'm getting dialed in. All right. Where else? All right. As some of you know, through July and especially August, through the month of August, I put a ton of things on myself. I mean, you have to think about what I've got going on. I've set up a coffee export company. I set up coffee time tours, which those require new websites. I've changed the studio around, the equipment, the repairs, everything that I was just whining about. Yes, the sound is muffled. All right. Let me see if I can improve something on the fly here. I don't know how that'll go, but worth a shot. I've had barely time to breathe, particularly in August. I've been, running out to the farms for the visits and the cooperative and all kinds of things. And I've been putting in midnight to 4 for sleep, and the rest of the time it's been mostly on the go. And here's a problem, which Turtle so kindly pointed out. My volume not muffled, Rob. Turtle, yes, sound is muffled. All right, let's duke it out. uh, Turtle kindly pointed out that I'm no longer a spring chicken and I'm trying to do things as if I were 35 years old. And he's got a pretty good point. And as a matter of fact, the end of this last week, I felt my health started to crash again, and I don't want that to happen because I've been doing so well. So I decided I'm going to have to take a step back and just slow the pace a little bit. I want to get the studio going and get it out of my hair because I've got a lot of the heavy lifting already done. The coffee company, I've run into a few obstacles. I put together a video to explain exactly where I'm at with the coffee company and to give you a new deadline so that you knew exactly what was going on, probably more than you need to know. But I went into a fair amount of the superficial details of what it takes to set this thing up. All in one take. Only one part that I had to stop and pause that I would have to cut out. Almost no editing involved. I was really proud of myself. This was yesterday morning. So I put it in the editing. I'm going to add the intro. I'm going to add the outro. I'm going to cut that piece out. And I hit the play. And I've got severe echo, 3 echoes. I have no idea where 3 echoes are coming from. There's only 2 mics and only one was on. But it was unusable. I tried to go through 45-minute long, a one take, because if you're really into something, you're passionate, you've been immersed in it for the last months, you don't really need a lot of takes. So, it's like in a conversation, you can just go with it. And so I did. Well, now I got to do the whole thing over again because I know a lot of you are interested in what's going on. A lot of you are interested in certain details about what's it take to accomplish certain things, navigate the bureaucracy, all of that kind of stuff. It was all in there. I will do it again. I'll have all the same information. It just, it'll be different for me. But so the coffee business, which I explained, but some things have come up. And I voluntarily opted to make it more complicated. But in doing so, I get to back off for about 2 months while other people proceed to do certain things. And I'll leave you hanging. You can export coffee with as little as an INVIMA health certificate. So if you do that, it'll export out of here. It'll enter in the US because that's the only thing they require. However, there are particular certification proofs of your coffee, and it's tedious, cumbersome, it's not cheap, and a lot of exporters don't bother. I opted to register with the Federation of Coffee, Cafe, the Federation de Cafe here in Colombia, which governs part of the world, but it's the entire oversight of the coffee business in Colombia. and there's a million different rules depending on what you're doing and how you're doing it. They have a big laboratory. The laboratory is to create a bunch of new innovations. I'll, I'll go into that in the video. But with this coffee federation, not only you apply, register your trademark, go through all that kind of stuff with them, but you send a sample of the first batch of coffee you're going to sell. And they test it and they verify the origin chemically. They verify the variety. So if we say it's geisha, you have actual proof that it's geisha, which I have learned that's a big problem. I bought geisha in a number of places here in Colombia where they don't bother getting any certifications, and several absolutely were not geisha. You know, if you try geisha, it's not like you're going to get some variation with any coffee, but it's so far off the mark, you know that it's not. So they're cheating, they're lying. If you want to be recognized as high quality and the proof is there with the various certifications, you know, with the little used to be Juan Valdez, but the little guy with a hat and the mountain peaks that you'll see on some coffees, you get that. There's another that will verify the origin, not only of Colombia, but of the region that you're in Colombia. There's another one. I won't go into all the detail again. It'll be in the video. But that's a process to do that. Now, once you're done, you go into an international registry. And what was amazing to me was there's somewhere between 10 and 20,000 coffee farms in Colombia. You can count on a couple hands how many of those are actually registered as I just described. But your coffee name will be registered internationally. You're eligible to go up for various international tastings and all of that because all of the proof has already been done. And so aside from all the nuts and bolts of just arranging and the logistics and are you going to use a fulfillment center, all that kind of craziness, I've decided to do that because it does two things. The obvious, what I just described, but the second one is from this point until almost 2 months from now, I won't have to focus on that. I have to look at the fulfillment aspect of it, but that's it. And I need to move some of these things aside. And so, you know, that's what's going on. Very, very busy, but I'm backing off a little bit. I'm going to stop forcing these things, trying to get them done sooner than may be possible. Some of these things you have to recognize that, look, you're in Colombia. You can't make things go faster than they're going to go. Just chill, relax, and let it take its course. Let's see. Good morning from Niagara Falls. Good morning. That's John. Good morning from Georgia. Stephen, how you doing? Chad, checking in from Austin. Hey, how you doing? When are you getting back down here? And John, love Tim Hortons coffee. I can say, yeah, you get spoiled down here. You know, coffees that I liked back when I was in the United States, if I were to drink them now, I would find them highly mediocre. It just, you do get spoiled. The deeper you dig into it, the more you experience and the varieties and understand where they came from and why they exist and all of that, you get a greater and greater appreciation for it. You know, one of these days, I'm going to end up being a coffee snob. You are functioning in Colombian time. Well, or lack of functioning. Yeah, it's August was hell. It really was, and I'm not surprised that I started to break down. And Turtle was right. I was working with a mentality of back in my work life, plowing ahead with all of these projects. It was nothing. It was a walk in the park. It's what I did. It's what I did my entire life. But I've been away from it for a decade, and and I've aged, so all of those things count. All those things matter. Let me put those away. Can you still hear me? I think you can, but I just want to be sure. B. Nick. Oh, I know who you are. How you doing? Buen dia, Senor Lauren. Saludos. From Reno. How is it there? Is it still hot as hell? Okay. So am I done with the whining? I think so. I mentioned here I got two videos. One is the coffee update that I just mentioned. Today, maybe tomorrow morning, I'll redo it. Honestly, I did it one time. That I hate the thought of doing it again, but there's a lot of good information, and I know a lot of you won't be interested, but that's easy. You get into it and you say, this isn't for me. But I know a lot of people will be very interested in it simply because of the kind of questions I get. The other video is the car repair that I went through. So I want to talk about that. If you are interested in the accountant that I've used for several things now that have had really good success, send me an email, write to me, and I'll send you his contact information. I want to promote him. I probably should ask his permission first, but I want to promote him because it was difficult to find someone that would work without blowing things out of proportion to justify a high fee. And you run into that a lot. It's and it's hard to know if they're being honest with you or not until you get to a certain point and you know enough to know. But that's a problem here. This guy, you can do everything with what's up. You don't have to go to the office, handles everything, handled the coffee business. He's the accountant of record for the next year for the coffee business. He handled when I got blown into the tax system, because of all this, he got me through the tax system, don't owe anything. It was pretty painless. I just had to send him all my bank records and a whole bunch of stuff. But, he took it from there. I didn't even have to sign a form. He handled everything. And, so if you need one, I'd be glad to recommend you. One of the things was you really should have an accountant for a number of reasons. If you're going to do something like I'm doing with the coffee export business, at least to begin, because with an accountant, there's things that'll be accepted that without an accountant might get rejected. And the work product could be identical, but it's just how they are. We want it official. So I checked with the ones that people had told me about. Several were in Medellin. And the prices I was getting for what I wanted done was around 10 million pesos. That was nuts. But people are paying it. There was one in Bogota, very similar. So I get put onto this guy who's out in the countryside, south of Cali. Check him out. Everything seems good. He's been doing it for a long time. Talked to a couple people that have used him. So I contact him. His fee is 1 million pesos, but it includes the next year of whatever service is needed for that business. Like, are you freaking serious? That'll include the quarterly tax preparations, all of that. And I didn't know everything that he was telling me, but I had already done enough homework to know the things that he was telling me, those things that I knew about, he was spot on. And he didn't try to blow anything out of proportion. As a matter of fact, he bent over backwards to make it as easy as possible. So I will recommend him if anybody ever asks me. What else we got here? Oh, of course, Visa Help. Same one in Pareda. She's been awesome. Turtle originally put me onto her. 7 years ago, I think. And she's been flawless. So there's that. Let's see. Hey, John. Hey, world. Okay. Feel free to throw in some chats there. Libby, good morning. I finally got on Rumble. You'll be able to say hi to you all still in Cuenca next month, Florida. Yeah, she goes back and forth, Cuenca and Florida and Cuenca, Florida. She keeps wanting to come to Colombia, but she's always got obstacles, usually have to do with her pets. Okay, so this week, we had a bit of an issue, a trucker strike. So I'll talk about that. First, I want to go over a couple headlines. Let's see, where are we? Let's see how we can make this work. Let me move this out of the way. Start this screen. Think that'll work. There we go. It worked. Armenia prepares for the transition of the strategic public transport system. Now, that's a lot of words, but in reading through it, they're basically they've reorganized, and there's going to be other items beyond these red buses. But I couldn't get a photo of that, so I'm unsure of that. But this new organization, it's going to be like an umbrella. What they're doing is they're replanning all of the bus routes so they essentially hit everywhere in Colombia. Right now, you might have to walk 5 or 6 blocks to get to a bus route. Some places, it would probably even double that. Most places within a block or two, but because the bus routes run where the population is. But they want to figure out a way to serve everybody, and they claim that they've done it. So it'll be interesting to see what comes about. They've also created a new app that is not yet online. They had one some years ago that worked really well, and they took it offline. I don't know why, but it had the same features where you'll be able to see the bus that you're trying to catch in real time, see it move. The world's had this for 10 years, but you'll be able to see on the map exactly where that bus is, how far out it is. If there's a delay and you're wondering if a bus is going to show up, you'll be able to look and see. They'll also have a better design for information for what bus goes where, because that's been problematic. It's like, if you know, you're good. If you don't, yeah, you don't. It's been hit or miss. Okay. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. I think I turn that one off. I turn it back on, and then I go to here. A little cumbersome. Gotta be an easier way. Okay, Avenue Norte. That's the one that runs parallel to Bolivar or Catorce in Centenario. You have 3 in the north, and they all run parallel. So you've got 19, and in the middle is Bolivar. It's also Catorce or 14th. And then the one I used to live on, Centenario, which is 6. Well, 19 was scheduled for the last 12 years to do this road improvement. But it turned out that the contracts had issues. There were certain auxiliary services that need to be done for the work to continue. And it just kind of stayed in limbo. Well, the new guy came in and said, we got to get this thing moving. He's claiming that they'll have this done mid-October. Wouldn't be surprised. This is something that should be a topic one of these days about road construction. I did a clip maybe a couple weeks ago showing a road crew. It's not enough to do a video, so it's just sitting there, and I'll include it in something one of these days. But here, if you got 10 people on a road crew working on something, you don't have 9 people standing around watching the one guy shovel. You got 10 people working. Yeah. And so, maybe they take a break for a minute to drink some cold water or something, but they're out there, they're working. And road work goes amazingly fast if you're used to watching it get done in the United States, where year after year after year, when are they going to finish this damn thing? Well, here it's a matter of, now it'll be done in a month or two. Oh, and they do. So this is good news because the congestion's getting bad. All these poor Colombians, somehow they've managed to come up with enough money to buy a crap load of cars, and so the traffic congestion keeps growing. All right, so that's that headline. Let me if I can manage to do this a little quicker. All right, here's a headline. Don't really need to talk much about it, but in Circassia, which is just north of me, they just put in a new water tank. A lot of infrastructure work is going on, and it will benefit more than 25,000 inhabitants. That's a good portion of the part of Circassia. So that's nice. It's nice to see a lot. And there's actually a lot of them, but I don't want to browbeat you with a bunch of tedious things. Here's another one, though. New housing for families living in high-risk conditions. This is in Colombia. This is all in Quindio. I went by this the other day. In some of the risky tin shacks, they're trying to pull people out of it. They just built a housing project, and they've given the keys to certain families that they, classify as at risk. So it's not the Taj Mahal, as you can see in the photo. It's just your typical stratus 2 or 3 brick building, but it's got windows, it's got doors, it's got a roof on it, it's got electric, it's got plumbing, and you can just imagine the people are tickled pink. Now, this isn't to rent. They own it. And they've got more planned like that. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. And done with that. And last thing before I get on with any kind of, let's see, who's there? Well, everybody's there, so that's good. I will save you from those advertising campaigns that we played with a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, because I have learned more about them. They pay squat unless you've got thousands of viewers watching a live stream. I get between typically 50 and 100. And so I can do the advertisement, pick up maybe $1 or $2. Do a couple advertisements, maybe 3 or 4. If I hit the jackpot, maybe $5. It's not that I'm scoffing at the $5, but the interruption of this and having you guys sit through it, I don't know that it makes sense. So maybe somewhere down the road, but it probably isn't going to happen, at least for some time. Last week we had Paula here, and she said that she was going to the coffee park, to this coffee exposition that was going on. I was going to try to go yesterday, but I had to get this thing working for today. I ended up spending all yesterday and from 4 o'clock until 7 o'clock this morning just to get it function to where we are. So I couldn't go. So she said that she would send a couple videos of it. She sent me 3. I don't know what order they were in. I was in a bit of a rush this morning. So maybe they're in order, but I'm gonna show it to you. Some will find it interesting, some won't. I found it interesting, and it's about 3 minutes long. So here we go.
Hey, hello, we're here in Expo Cafe at Parque Cafe. This is a feria that we have here in Armenia, in Montenegro, and it's about coffee, handcrafts, and other kind of things. I'm going to show you some of the stands so you can see what's going on in this place. I'm representative of different sectors of coffee and coffee products from the region, and also typical products, handcraftings, and representative things from Colombia. You see, they say coffee park. This is a typical building. like representing train station. Some more coffee. These are products from the rural areas in Colombia, things that a country person would need. More coffee brands and their products. Okay, beautiful decorations. Four Elements, coffee, and also some souvenirs, bags, and that is the entrance coming from another part of the park. Well, this is just a view of the fair, coffee fair, Expo Eje Cafe. The transportation to go to the entrance of the park. These are some enterprises that are from the region as well, from Quindio. Institutes, universities, different companies, banks, housing projects. And these are the locations of the coffee park. You see the typical Quindio houses. Well, that part of the park are the places where people can come and look for food after going around the park. Okay, and this is the last part of the fair, coffee fair. Okay, let me show you. These are the handcrafts from Quindio. So these are all the handcrafters that are from the region. So they show the different things that they produce. Here we have coffee. And also beer.
Okay, you say video quality for this segment's really bad. Yeah, that's true. I play it anyway because if I waited for perfection, I wouldn't be able to put half of the stuff up. It's just an issue, you know. She's there with a cell phone that's probably average in quality. It was a little shaky. Who knows what quality cell phone? She did it to show something that it's an annual event, kind of a big thing, particularly when it comes to coffee. And you know, I thought about it, and particularly since it's 3 minutes long. But I figure, what the hell? You know, 3 minutes for those that are interested. You have to kind of look past that. This is, you know, we're all amateurs. Maybe I've been doing this for 8 years, but I've been doing it on a wing and a prayer. As a lot of you know that have watched for a long time. You know, if you saw how some of this stuff is pieced together, and you know, my soldering iron gets a good workout. You know, we do the best we can. I'm constantly trying to improve. Right now, going through what I'm going through, it's a real slip from where I had gotten to. But once I get everything ironed out, it'll be an improvement on top of that. I really want to have a situation where instead of me talking to you for an hour, even if the topics are interesting, and even if you're getting a lot of good information out of it, I'm not the most exciting person in the world. And you know, the same thing, same person, same voice cadence, the same ums and ahs. I'd like to break that up a little bit. Plus, there are things to do here, and it would be nice if I had somebody else that could kind of carry the load for a minute while I do things without having to stop or hold on and noticeably look down. So I want to have a co-host, but more than that, what I really want to do is if we get into a topic like this next one before we go for the day, the trucker strike, if you guys have something to contribute that you'll be able to come in, I can be able to put you up on the screen. You could say your piece. There could be 3, 4, 5 of you, and we could have a conversation about a particular topic. I think that would be fun. I think it would be interesting. Of course, we have to make sure you got to watch out for trolls and that kind of thing. But they can't just blindly come in. I have to accept them. So, it's there are some safeguards, but that's the direction I'm trying to go with this. I'm trying to make it more interesting, more entertaining, and not only my voice every Sunday. Now, you guys have been a lot of you guys have been tuning in for years. And so I don't diminish that. It's just that maybe it'll be refreshing for you too. Um, and when it comes to the co-host, the they each I think they were each here, and in both cases they were quite nervous. Uh, Maybe Dan a little more so than Paula, but they were both very nervous, and they're also very distracted when your equipment's not working. They're getting echoes in their earpiece, so they had to kind of navigate around that. It's very awkward. It takes a little while to iron those things out, but once you do, you find out somebody might have a lot to contribute. And so, I'm looking for people that can do that, and they need a little breathing room to kind of find their legs. So, try to understand, what I'm what we are all trying to do here. Owen, video is okay, not complaining. I know you weren't. You were letting me know, and I appreciate it because I'm always asking you for that. But you noticed it, I noticed it, and I wanted to explain so that people that aren't here all the time, that only tune in maybe the first time or a few times, understand what's going on. I'm just keeping you informed whenever I see an issue. Exactly, and I want you to. I invite that. Um, so thank you. Video worthwhile, looks fine on a small screen, would degrade on a full screen. It was pretty bad. Particularly every time she moved, you really kind of lost the image. You kind of lost the point of it all. But I talked to her how to do that. As far as I know, she's never done what she did for me, and I asked her to do that while she was there. There's a particular technique that would help improve that, and so I'll let her know about that in case it ever comes up again. It'd be nice to have it, maybe instead of here in the studio, out to one of these events and maybe even do it live. It's like, why don't you check in and give us a 5-minute report on what you're seeing and show us that? Hey, back up a little bit. Show me that thing right there. What's going on with that? It'd be kind of cool. So that's what we're shooting for. All right. So trucker strike. I don't know how many of you live here in Colombia. If you live here in Colombia, you may or may not have been aware. I wasn't until Turtle yet again. He's that voice on my shoulder. I'm not sure which side though, but he says, "Do you have food in the stores?" Well, yeah, I just came back from the supermarket and the shelves are full. Why do you ask? He says, because here in Socorro, we don't have anything. We're out. There was a mad rush, just like, in the US before a snowstorm, and everybody goes and buys all the bread and milk and toilet paper. He said, there's nothing here. Shelves are bare. Why? What the heck's going on? And he said, did he tell me or did I look it up? Maybe I looked it up, but I discovered that there was a trucker strike. What was interesting is that same day, I had to drive to Quindio to work up the contract for the coffee processing and some of the things I chase after. It's about an hour drive. As I'm driving down through the south of Armenia, gas station after gas station had lines that I hadn't seen since 1974. 2-3 blocks long, lines lined up at the gas station to get gas. And I go, what the heck is going on? So I get out, but I'm almost to Kimbaya, and there's a gas station out in the country, but it's a big gas station. And over on my left, I take a look, and there's no line. There's 1 or 2 people there getting gas, no problem. Okay, so I go do my thing. I come back, and at some point, I realized trucker strike. I don't remember the timeline, but I figured, one of the people that was supposed to be at that meeting had to call in as a voice call because he was in Pareda, and because he couldn't buy gasoline, he didn't dare take the chance, so he had to stay there. So I had half a tank, and I figured, well, there's no line there. I don't know what's going on, but so let me fill it up. So I filled up the car and drove back into Armenia. And coming back in, I'm seeing lines again. And it turns out there was a trucker strike. Now here is the basic deal on the trucker strike. And if you're in Colombia and you want to argue with me, feel free to shoot in your comment. Be more fun if I get you online, but I don't know if we can do that today. Probably would crash everything. But understand that some years ago, the petroleum industry was completely privately owned. At some point, I think it was in the 80s, there was an absorption. It's not strictly controlled by the government, but you can almost call it a government entity. And it's worked out fairly well for everybody involved up until this point. Now, one of the things that they set up was that this is oil coming out of the ground of Colombia. And this wasn't on private land. This is on Colombian people's land. It's like think of a national park. Who owns that? The people own it. So part of the provision was that in exchange for them withdrawing the oil from Colombia, that people would have, you could say, I hate this word, but subsidized prices for gasoline products. I don't like the word because if this is something of theirs, you're not giving them something, you are making them whole out of this agreement. So it was their portion, it was their cut of this agreement. The oil company, they're making their profits, everything is great and good. Then along comes this new president, and first thing he did was require a cutback on production, and you've seen it all. Try to do it here, everything starts to collapse, and the the inflation was really bad at that time. It moderated once they turned the spigot back on a little bit, but he wants more power and more control. And one of the things that he wants to do is not only put more things under his thumb for control, but the more money he can raise in taxes, the more power that's going to give him. And so what he wants to do is withdraw the subsidies, or actually it's more like install a tax on diesel fuel for truckers. Now, as citizens, we've already gone through a period of every single month there was an increase in gasoline, and it's gone up substantially. From a year and a half ago, it's double the price. But individuals just kind of let it pass. But here's the truckers who live on a wing and a prayer as it is, and all of a sudden they're getting substantial increases in diesel fuel because we're removing subsidies as though it were some sort of welfare plan. But if you go back and look at what that agreement was, the you can hardly call it a welfare plan. You would really, to make it fair, you'd have to go back and redo the entire agreement, which means you pull the government out of it, and then the government's not gonna get squat anyway, but tangent. So the truckers were pretty furious about it because with all the inflation, with everything that's been going on, adding substantial amount to their diesel fuel means that every load, they're gonna break even or lose money. So they said, "To hell with this," and they said, we're not gonna run our trucks for a while." Now, Bogota got hit the worst to send a message because this president's from Bogota. So they essentially blockaded the city, and some other cities, they had trucks at the entrance. It made it difficult to get through, but it made itself known because if your trucks aren't running, then you're not bringing food deliveries, you're not bringing gasoline deliveries to the pump. And it was only a matter of a day or two when it started to break down in areas like where Turtle lives. He's on one of those main arteries, and so they had the actual roadblocks. We didn't get the roadblocks. We just were getting late deliveries. So everything was still in our stores. Plus, this is Quindio. We have so much grown here that even if trucks didn't come, we'd still have food. Another nice thing about living here, because the population wouldn't overwhelm that food supply. But he was in a potentially serious situation. And so I looked it up, I read on it, I got kind of pissed off about some of the terminology that was it made it sound like the government is doling out welfare payments when we all know that government actually owns nothing. It all comes from other people. But it was the next day I saw this press release, and somebody's arms got to be sore from patting himself on the back about how they've negotiated this, that, and the other thing, and you respect the rights of such and such, and it was all just flop, but it was all crap. I don't know how this is going to end up. It was some half measures. Guy doesn't tend to honor his agreements anyway, so I don't know that we're done with this, but outside of gas line for a handful of people that didn't expect this to happen and all of a sudden panicked and ran to the gas station. I wouldn't have noticed otherwise. So there's that. What we got here. My girlfriend and colleague wanted me to stock up at the supermarket, but we saw no shortages as far as I could tell. Yeah, a lot of what was going on is just like in the U.S. Storms coming in 3 days, and what happens? If you live in the north, particularly in the northeast New England area, we got an ice storm coming. The shelves they're just cleared off. Locusts run through. I think COVID was kind of the same thing. They always hit up toilet paper first. It's like they held it for all these months, but now that I'm going to be locked in the house, I'm going to take full advantage and have lots of toilet paper on hand. I don't quite get it, but it was the same effect here that was going on. All right, let's see, Hugo. I love when you interview other people. Yeah, I actually like it. I prefer it. The issue is getting people to want to do it. Getting people to want to co-host, getting people to come on here. I've previously, before I set this up, I sent out a number of invitations here, inviting you guys to come on and talk about whatever topic you want to talk about. I send you a link. You just go on the internet, you click on the link, and you set your cell phone up so that it's this way, not this way. You set it up and you prop it on a shelf or something so that it's eye level. So it's kind of like this, and we're good to go. Nobody. Crickets. Not one. I don't know how many times I've asked that, but I would say at least 3, 4, 5 times in the last handful of months. So, getting an interview, that's an issue too. Edward, as a true American, I stocked up on toilet paper. Um, I Okay, you all know, because I've told you a million times now. I've told you so many things I've never told anybody before, but I don't know. What do I got to lose? I'm almost 71 now, next month. So, yeah, I'm gonna keel over any day. So, that I grew up dirt poor. There was a couple years in my life, literally child and raised by wolves. I mean, there's no adult around. I had to take care of myself. I had to hunt and I had all that kind of stuff. You already know that. Well, the rest of my life, I've had this tendency, and I find myself doing it here, that whenever I have any extra money, it goes into toilet paper to go up on the shelf, or toothpaste, or uh, maybe canned goods, or stuff I can stuff in the freezer. I always get extras so that if something happened, I'm good for a week or two or so on basic things, and maybe a month or so on things like toilet paper and toothpaste. So I've done that my entire life. I've always needed a lot more storage space because I just do that. It's because when you grow up in that situation, you treasure having those things, and you do everything you can to make sure that you will keep having those things. So, so I get it. It's just I never have to run and do that because yeah, I do it every week, month, whenever I go shopping. Okay. Any other comments? I think we're about out of time today. Um, Turtle. One person wrote in the Turtle. I'm assuming to help with that little girl. Let me put I met some Colombianas here who speak English well. I plan to do some recorded interviews. Sure, that'd be cool. I've done some. I did several, uh, 3 or 4 University Quindio English students in the past. It's just they, they're few and far between. They're difficult to nail down. Um, let me let's see. Here we go. So there's my email. If you want to send me an email, I can put you in contact with Turtle if you want to give him a hand. And let's see, and something else here. Media. Oh yeah, my QR code. That's been playing around putting different things on different websites because I had to have a QR code for the coffee bag. So I come up with this one. You might want to take a look. It's got my regular website. It's got the coffee website. It's got the coffee time tours. It's got a bunch of things. If you click on this, it comes up on your phone. This little app with these links on it. Anyway, last call for any comments, any chats, and after the last call, give it a minute or two. We'll sign off for the day. Oh! It's football Sunday. Buffalo Bills are playing. I think they're playing 5 or 10 minutes, whatever time it is. I don't have my clock set up here. So no matter what, go Bills. All right. Don't see any other comments. Thank you all. If you're of a mind, please contribute. I definitely need it this month. I had to go out of pocket, and that pocket's getting kind of dry because I've had to cover all these other things. So if you do, very grateful. And some of you already do. All right. So we'll end it here. Thank you very much for tuning in. I've got new equipment that's supposed to be coming in on the 13th. If so, hopefully I'll get past all this walking on eggshell stuff, and I'll be curious to see how this turned out. I'll replay it when I'm done. I'm guessing it probably came out pretty decent, but enough of that. I'll see you next week. Ciao.
Wow.